Don't drink it." Elena's scream tore through the mansion like a gunshot. She crashed through the bedroom door, her eyes wild with terror, her voice breaking. Marcus Richardson's hand stopped inches from the cup. His wife Victoria stood frozen beside the bed, the silver tray shaking in her grip. "She poisoned it. I saw her. I saw her pour it in." Victoria's face twisted from shock to rage to pure hatred in 3 seconds. The mask she had worn for 12 years shattered completely. "You stupid little peasant," Victoria hissed. "You've destroyed everything." She didn't know how right she was. In the next 60 seconds, her husband would find the small glass vial hidden in her purse, and her perfect life would collapse into prison walls. If you want to know how one woman's greed led to her complete destruction, subscribe to my channel and stay until the very end. And please comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let me tell you how this nightmare began. Marcus Richardson had built his empire from nothing. 60 years of work, 60 years of sacrifice. At 72, he owned real estate across 15 states. His name appeared in Forbes year after year. When he walked into a room, people stood. When he spoke, people listened. But Marcus would trade every dollar for one thing he couldn't buy: his wife's love. He met Victoria at a charity gala 12 years ago. She was 40, recently divorced, stunning in a red dress. Marcus was 60, a widower, lonely in ways he never admitted. "You're different." Victoria told him that first night. "Most rich men bore me, but you actually listen." Marcus fell hard. They married 6 months later. The first 2 years were good. Victoria decorated their Beverly Hills mansion. She planned dinner parties. She traveled with Marcus everywhere. "Your wife is wonderful," people told him constantly. Marcus believed them. But around year 3, something changed. Victoria stopped waiting up for him. She stopped asking about his day. When he reached for her hand, she pulled away. "I'm tired," she would say. "I have a headache." "Not tonight." Always an excuse. Marcus blamed himself. He tried harder. He surprised her with Paris. First-class presidential suite private tour of the Louvre. Victoria spent most of the trip on her phone. He bought her a diamond necklace worth $3 million. She wore it once. He had a yacht built for her. She went on it twice. Nothing worked. "What do you want?" Marcus finally asked one night. "Tell me and I'll give it to you. Anything." Victoria looked at him with empty eyes. "I want to be happy, Marcus." "And you're not happy with all of this, with me." She paused, just long enough for Marcus to feel his heart crack. "I'm trying," she said. "I'm really trying." That was 3 years ago. Since then, Victoria had become a ghost. Present but not there. Smiling but not meaning it. Marcus told himself things would get better. He had no idea that the woman he fell in love with had never existed at all. 3,000 miles away, in rural New Mexico, a young woman named Elena Morales was watching her mother die. Rosa Morales had worked the fields since she was 14. Decades of labor and pesticide exposure had left her with lung disease. The local clinic could do nothing. She needed specialists' treatments that cost more than Elena would earn in 10 lifetimes. "Mija," Rosa whispered one night, struggling to breathe. "Don't waste your life watching me die. Go. Find work. Live." Elena held her mother's hand. "I'll find a way to save you, Mama. I swear it." She left the next morning with $47 and a bus ticket to Los Angeles. The city terrified her. She slept in shelters. She ate at soup kitchens. She walked miles every day looking for work. Most places turned her away. Some were cruel. After 3 weeks, she saw an advertisement for a housekeeper at a Beverly Hills residence. Elena prayed harder than she ever had and went to the interview. Marcus conducted it himself. Elena sat in the marble foyer wearing her only nice dress, clean but faded. "Why do you want this job?" Marcus asked. "My mother is dying, sir. She needs medicine I can't afford. I need this job to save her life. What experience do you have? I've never used a dishwasher or vacuum cleaner. My village has neither. But I learn fast and I work hard. Marcus studied her face. She looked him directly in the eyes when she spoke. I'm not the most qualified person you'll interview, Elena continued. But I promise you this. I will never lie to you and I will never steal from you. My mother raised me to be honest, even when it's hard. Something in her words touched Marcus. You're hired, he said. Start tomorrow. Elena fell to her knees and wept. Thank you, sir. Thank you. She had no idea this moment would change both their lives forever. From the first day, Victoria hated Elena. She couldn't explain why. Elena was quiet, respectful, hardworking. She woke before dawn and cleaned until every surface sparkled. Her cooking reminded Marcus of his grandmother's recipes. Maybe that was the problem. Victoria noticed how Marcus praised Elena's cooking. She noticed how he smiled at dinner for the first time in months. She noticed how Elena never complained, never gossiped, never asked for anything beyond her modest salary. Elena was good, genuinely good. And good people made Victoria uncomfortable. So Victoria made Elena's life hell. You, Victoria snapped one morning, finding Elena in the laundry room. Did you touch my jewelry box? No, ma'am. I cleaned the surfaces but didn't touch anything personal. It was moved. I may have bumped it while dusting. I put it right back. Victoria stepped closer. If anything goes missing, I'll know exactly who to blame. Elena didn't flinch. Nothing will go missing, ma'am. I'm not a thief. Victoria felt a flash of rage. Who did this girl think she was? See that it doesn't... Victoria hissed and walked away. Elena watched her go, a strange feeling settling in her stomach. Something was wrong with Mrs. Richardson. There was a darkness in that woman's eyes. A calculation. Elena had grown up where everyone knew everyone's business. You learned to read people quickly. You learned to recognize danger. Every instinct told her Victoria Richardson was dangerous. She just didn't know how dangerous. Not yet. That night, Elena called her mother from her small room. Mija. Rosa's weak voice came through the phone. How are you? I'm fine, Mama. The job is good. The man who hired me is kind. And his wife... Elena paused. She's difficult. Be careful, Mija. Rich people can be cruel when they feel threatened. Threatened by me. By your goodness. Some people hate what they cannot understand. Elena thought about Victoria's cold eyes. Mama, can I ask you something? Anything. If you knew someone was planning to do something terrible, but you had no proof, what would you do? Silence on the line. Then Rosa spoke slowly. Evil wins when good people do nothing, Mija. Always stand for what is right, even when it costs you everything. That's what my mother taught me. That's what I taught you. Even if it destroys me. Especially then. A clear conscience is worth more than any job. Elena felt tears forming. I miss you, Mama. I miss you too, Mija. Be brave. Be good. God is watching. Elena hung up and stared at the ceiling. She didn't know yet what evil she would face, but her mother's words would echo in her mind when the moment came. Victoria had met Derek Palmer 8 months ago at a gallery opening. He was 15 years younger, handsome, confident. He sold commercial real estate, though not successfully. His expensive suits were financed by maxed-out credit cards. But Derek made Victoria feel alive. The affair started with coffee, then lunches, then afternoons in Derek's apartment while Marcus worked. Leave him, Derek said one afternoon lying next to her. We can be together, really together. It's not that simple. Why not? You don't love him. Victoria rolled over. There's a prenup. If I divorce Marcus, I get almost nothing. A monthly allowance, one smaller property. After 12 years of being his accessory, his decoration, I deserve more. How much more? All of it. Derek went quiet. He's 72. Victoria continued. Works too hard. High blood pressure. High cholesterol. If something happened to him, I inherit everything. As his widow, the prenup doesn't apply. You're talking about killing him. Victoria didn't blink. I'm talking about our future. Derek sat up. That's murder, Victoria. They execute people for that. Only if they get caught. And we won't get caught. How can you be so sure? Victoria smiled. Because I've been planning this for months. I know exactly how to do it. I know exactly what to use. It will look like a heart attack. Natural causes. No one will suspect anything. What if someone finds out? Who? The servants? That pathetic maid barely speaks English. She's invisible. Derek stared at her. You've really thought this through. Every detail. All I need is the right moment. And you. Me. Victoria reached for him. I need to know you're with me, Derek. All the way. Because once this is done, there's no going back. Derek was silent for a long moment. Victoria watched the calculations happening behind his eyes. The risk versus the reward. The danger versus the money. How much? He finally asked. How much will you inherit? Everything. The houses, the investments, the company shares. Hundreds of millions. And I get half, 50-50. Partners in everything. Derek's resistance crumbled. When? Soon. Very soon. I just need to acquire one more thing. What? Victoria leaned close and whispered in his ear. Poison. The first time Derek came to the mansion, Elena was cleaning the upstairs windows. She heard the doorbell, then voices in the foyer. Mrs. Richardson's voice high and excited. A man's voice, deep and confident. My cousin from Chicago, Victoria announced later. He's visiting for a while. Make yourself scarce when he's here. Yes, ma'am. But Elena didn't make herself scarce. Not entirely. She had seen how Victoria looked at this cousin. How her whole body leaned toward him. How her smile turned genuine for the first time in weeks. That was not how cousins looked at each other. Over the following days, Derek visited more frequently, always during the day, always when Marcus was at work. He arrived within minutes of Marcus leaving as if he was watching and waiting. Elena noticed everything. She noticed the locked doors, the muffled laughter, the silences that stretched too long. One afternoon, Elena was polishing silver in the dining room. The window was cracked open, and voices carried from the garden below. When are we doing this? Derek's voice. Patience, Victoria replied. Everything has to be perfect. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of sneaking around. A few more weeks, that's all. A few more weeks of what? Victoria's voice dropped lower. Elena stopped polishing and held her breath. A few more weeks of being married, and then I'll be a widow. Elena's hands started shaking. You have the stuff, Derek asked. Arriving tomorrow. Potassium cyanide. Colorless. Tasteless. Causes cardiac arrest within hours. Any autopsy would show heart failure. Natural causes. And you're sure it works? I've done my research. $20,000 and a contact who knows how to keep quiet. 20,000. A small investment for hundreds of millions, don't you think? Derek laughed. You're something else, Victoria. I'm a woman who knows what she wants, and what I want is freedom. Freedom from this boring old man. Freedom to be with you. Freedom to enjoy life while I'm still young enough. You're not that young anymore. Careful, darling. I'm young enough to find another partner if you keep talking like that. I'm joking. You know I'm with you. All the way. Good. Because after this is done, we disappear for a while. Europe, 6 months. Let the grief settle. Let the lawyers handle the estate. And then we come back and get married and live the life we deserve. The life we deserve, Derek repeated. I like the sound of that. Elena backed away from the window. Her whole body was trembling. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. They were going to kill Mr. Richardson. His own wife was going to poison him. Elena wanted to scream. She wanted to run to Marcus and tell him everything. But who would believe her? She was just a maid, a nobody. Victoria would deny it all. She would fire Elena immediately, and then Marcus would die anyway. Next week or next month. When Elena wasn't there to stop it. No, she needed proof. She needed to catch Victoria in the act. But how? That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She thought about her mother fighting for every breath 3,000 miles away. She thought about Marcus, who had offered to advance her salary for medical bills. She thought about Victoria's cold eyes and colder heart. Evil wins when good people do nothing. Elena made her decision. She would watch. She would wait. She would gather whatever evidence she could. And when the moment came, she would act, no matter what it cost her. 2 weeks passed. Elena moved through the mansion like a shadow, always alert, always listening. She noted Victoria's behavior, how she studied Marcus's schedule obsessively, how she asked about meetings, trips, late nights at the office. "When is your big conference, darling? What time will you be home tomorrow? Will you be traveling next week?" Marcus thought his wife was finally taking interest in his life. He smiled at her questions. He answered eagerly. Elena knew better. Victoria was planning, waiting for the perfect moment. One morning, Elena was passing by the study when she glimpsed Victoria's laptop screen. Medical articles about heart attacks, how to recognize them, how they could be triggered. Elena's blood ran cold. Then came the phone call. Victoria was in the garden, unaware that Elena was trimming hedges nearby. "I found it," Victoria said, her voice trembling with excitement. "The perfect solution. Potassium cyanide, completely tasteless, colorless when dissolved, a heart attack within hours." Elena's pruning shears slipped from her fingers. Victoria spun around at the sound. Their eyes met. Elena's heart stopped, but Victoria just saw the maid. Stupid, invisible, nobody. "Get back to work," Victoria snapped. "And stop making noise." "Yes, ma'am." Elena picked up her shears with trembling hands. Victoria turned away and continued her conversation. "No one suspects anything. The maid is clueless. By morning, it will all be over, and then I'll finally be free." That night, Elena knelt beside her bed and prayed. "God, please show me what to do. Please give me the chance to save him. Please give me courage when the moment comes." She didn't sleep. She watched the ceiling until dawn. The moment was coming. She could feel it. The day everything changed started like any other. Marcus left for work at 8. Victoria kissed his cheek at the door. "Have a good day, darling." "Thank you, dear. I'll be home late. Big meeting." "I'll wait up for you." Elena watched from the hallway. Victoria's smile was warm, caring, perfect. The smile of a loving wife. The smile of a murderer. Derek arrived 20 minutes later. Elena was cleaning upstairs, but she heard his car pull in. She crept to the top of the staircase where she could see down into the foyer. Victoria rushed to greet him. They embraced. They kissed. Not like cousins. "Is it time?" Derek asked. "Almost. I got a text from his assistant. The Morrison deal is falling apart. He'll be devastated when he comes home. Stressed, exhausted. Perfect conditions. Tonight. Tonight." Derek grabbed her hands. "Are you sure about this?" "Once it's done, there's no going back." Victoria pulled him close. "I've never been more sure of anything. By tomorrow morning, I'll be a widow. A very rich widow." "And what about the maid? What about her? She's always watching, always listening. What if she heard something?" Victoria laughed. "Elena, she's a peasant from some village in Mexico. She doesn't understand anything. She's too busy worrying about her dying mother to notice what's happening in front of her face." Elena pressed herself against the wall, her hands clenched into fists. "Peasant." That's what Victoria thought of her. Besides, Victoria continued, after tonight I'll fire her anyway. Give her a week's severance and send her back to wherever she came from. She'll be gone before the funeral. You've thought of everything. I always do, darling. I always do. They disappeared into the living room. Elena heard the door lock behind them. She sat on the top step, her mind racing. Tonight. It was happening tonight. She had hours. Maybe less. She needed a plan. Marcus came home at 4 o'clock earlier than expected. Elena heard his car, heard the front door, heard his footsteps slower than usual, heavier. She found him in the kitchen, sitting at the table with his head in his hands. "Mr. Richardson, are you all right?" He looked up. His face was gray, exhausted, older than she had ever seen it. The Morrison deal fell through. 2 years of work. Gone. "I'm sorry, sir. My investor backed out at the last minute. 20 years I've known that man. He stabbed me in the back without a second thought." Elena didn't know what to say. "I'm tired, Elena. Maybe it's time to retire. What's the point of all this money if you can't trust anyone?" "You can trust some people, sir." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. "Can you? Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. My wife, my partners, my friends. Everyone is waiting for their chance to take what's mine." Elena felt her heart breaking. He had no idea how right he was. "Not everyone," she said quietly. "Some people just want to do the right thing." Marcus smiled sadly. "You're young. Wait until the world beats it out of you. My mother says goodness is a choice we make every day. It's not something the world can take away. It's something we give away ourselves." Marcus stared at her. "Your mother sounds wise." "She is. The wisest I know." Marcus stood slowly. "I'm going to lie down. I have a terrible headache. Tell my wife I won't be down for dinner." "Yes, sir." Elena watched him go. He was walking toward his bedroom, toward the woman who was going to kill him tonight. She had to stop it. She had to find a way. Victoria came downstairs at 6:30, looking pleased with herself. "Where's my husband?" "In the bedroom, ma'am. He came home early. He's not feeling well." Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Excitement. "Poor darling. I'll check on him." She paused. "Actually, I'll make him some tea first. Chamomile. His favorite." "I can make it for you, ma'am." "No." The word came out sharp. Victoria softened her voice. "No, thank you. I want to do it myself." "Yes, ma'am." "Why don't you take the evening off? Go to your room. I want private time with my husband." Elena's heart pounded. "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." She walked toward her room. She could feel Victoria's eyes on her back. She entered her room, closed the door, and immediately opened it again, just a crack. Just enough to watch. Victoria moved through the kitchen with deadly calm. Elena watched through the crack as Victoria filled the kettle, set it to boil, selected Marcus's favorite cup, the blue one with the gold rim. She prepared the tea. 1 bag of chamomile, 2 sugars, a splash of honey. Then Victoria looked around. Elena pulled back, counted to 10, looked again. Victoria had her purse open. Her hand reached inside, found something, pulled it out. The vial. The small glass vial with white powder. Elena watched as Victoria unscrewed the cap, watched as she tilted the vial over the tea, watched as the powder fell silently into the cup. Victoria stirred slowly. "Tonight," she whispered, "I finally become a widow." She placed the cup on a silver tray, arranged a napkin, checked her reflection, smoothed her hair. Then she picked up the tray and walked toward the bedroom. Elena had seconds. If she ran now, Victoria would hide the cup, claim innocence, try again another day. She needed Victoria caught in the act. She needed Marcus to see. Victoria's heels clicked down the hallway. Click, click, click. Marcus was in that bedroom, trusting, vulnerable. He was going to die. Unless Elena stopped it. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Evil wins when good people do nothing. Elena burst out of her room. She ran down the hallway faster than she had ever run. She didn't think about consequences. She didn't think about her job. She thought only about the man who had been kind to her. Victoria reached the bedroom door, knocked softly. "Come in," Marcus called. Victoria opened the door, stepped inside. "Darling, I brought you some tea." Elena ran faster. She reached the doorway. She saw Marcus sitting up in bed. She saw Victoria approaching with the tray. She saw Marcus reaching out his hand for the cup. And Elena opened her mouth and screamed, the loudest scream of her entire life, a scream from deep in her soul. "Don't drink it!" Marcus's hand froze in midair. Victoria whirled around the tray, tilting tea sloshing. "Don't drink that tea, Mr. Richardson. There's poison in it. I saw her put it in. I saw her." Elena was crying now, tears streaming down her face, her body shaking with terror. But her eyes were clear, and she did not look away. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then everything exploded. Victoria's face transformed from shock to fury. She slammed the tray down on the nightstand, tea sloshing over the sides of the cup. "Have you lost your mind?" Victoria screamed at Elena. "How dare you burst into my bedroom like this? Who do you think you are?" Elena stood her ground, tears streaming down her face, but her voice steady. "I saw you, Mrs. Richardson. I saw you pour white powder from a vial into that cup. I watched you through the kitchen door." "Liar!" Victoria spun toward Marcus. "She's lying, darling. She's been obsessed with you since she started working here. I've seen the way she looks at you. She wants to destroy our marriage." Marcus hadn't moved. He sat on the bed, his hand still frozen in midair, where it had stopped reaching for the cup. His eyes moved slowly from Victoria to Elena and back again. "Marcus, say something," Victoria demanded. "Tell this peasant to get out of our house." But Marcus was looking at the cup now, the innocent-looking cup of chamomile tea that his wife had prepared with such care. "Give me the cup," he said quietly. Victoria's face flickered. Just for a moment, fear breaking through the mask. "What?" "Don't be ridiculous. It's just tea." "Then you won't mind if I have it tested." "Tested, Marcus, you're being insane. This maid is feeding you lies, and you're actually believing her. Give me the cup, Victoria." His voice was harder now. The voice of a man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals. The voice of a man who was done being deceived. Victoria didn't move. Elena spoke up. "The vial is in her purse, Mr. Richardson. A small glass bottle with a white cap. She put it back after she poured the poison. Check her purse." Victoria's eyes went wide. Real panic now. Undisguised. "Don't you dare touch my personal belongings," she hissed. "That's an invasion of privacy. I'll call the police." "Go ahead," Marcus said, standing up from the bed. "Call them. Let's see what they find." He walked toward the vanity where Victoria's Hermes purse sat. Victoria lunged for it, but Marcus was faster. He grabbed the bag and opened it before she could reach him. Victoria clawed at his arm. "Stop it! You have no right! I'm your wife!" Marcus pushed her away. Not hard, but firmly. He upended the purse onto the bed. Wallet, keys, lipstick, phone, tissues, and a small glass vial with a white cap. The room went silent again. Marcus picked up the vial and held it to the light. White powder inside, just as Elena had described. "What is this, Victoria?" His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of 12 years of marriage crumbling into dust. Victoria's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. "What is this?" The roar shook the walls. Victoria flinched back like she had been struck. And then she broke. She dropped to her knees right there on the bedroom floor. The sophisticated, elegant Victoria Richardson collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. Please, please forgive me." Marcus stared down at her. This woman he had loved for 12 years. This woman he had given everything. This woman who had just tried to murder him. Why? The word came out broken. "Just tell me why." I was confused. I wasn't thinking clearly. The pressure, the loneliness, The truth, Victoria. For once in your miserable life, tell me the truth. Victoria looked up at him through her tears. Something shifted in her eyes. The mask fell away completely. "Because I wanted it all," she said, her voice suddenly cold. "Every penny, every property, everything you built. I was tired of waiting for you to die naturally. You're 72 years old, Marcus. How much longer was I supposed to wait?" Marcus stumbled backward like he had been punched. 12 years, he whispered. 12 years of our marriage. Was any of it real? Victoria laughed. Actually, laughed. A bitter, ugly sound. Real? You want to know what was real? The boredom was real. The endless charity dinners and business trips and watching you fall asleep at 9 o'clock every night. That was real. You were so desperate for someone to love you that you never once questioned why a 40-year-old woman would marry a 60-year-old man. I gave you everything. You gave me things, objects, possessions. You never gave me what I actually wanted. And what was that? Freedom, youth, a life that wasn't tied to a man old enough to be my father. Elena stood frozen by the door, watching this marriage disintegrate. She wanted to leave to give them privacy, but her legs wouldn't move. Marcus reached for his phone. "What are you doing?" Victoria's voice turned sharp with fear. "Calling the police." "No." Victoria scrambled to her feet. "No, Marcus, wait. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. I'll get help. I was sick, I wasn't myself." "You tried to kill me, Victoria. There is no working this out." He dialed 911. Victoria's face hardened. The desperate wife disappeared. In her place stood someone Elena had never seen before. Someone dangerous. "If you do this," Victoria said quietly, "I'll destroy you. I know things, Marcus. Things about your business. Things about your past. I'll tell everyone. I'll drag your name through the mud." Marcus put the phone to his ear. "Yes, I need police at 847 Sunset Ridge Drive. My wife just attempted to poison me. I have the evidence." Victoria screamed. She launched herself at Marcus, clawing at the phone. He caught her wrists and held her back. "Send someone immediately." Marcus continued, his voice steady, despite Victoria's thrashing. "She may become violent." Elena finally moved. She stepped forward and grabbed Victoria's arm, pulling her away from Marcus. "Let go of me!" Victoria shrieked. "Don't touch me, you filthy little—" "That's enough," Elena said firmly. Her voice surprised even herself. "It's over, Mrs. Richardson. It's all over." Victoria went limp. All the fight drained out of her. She slumped against the wall, mascara running down her cheeks, her perfect appearance ruined. "You," she said to Elena, her voice dripping with venom. "You did this. A nobody. A peasant. You destroyed my life." "No, ma'am. You destroyed it yourself." 23 minutes later, the police arrived. 2 officers and a detective. Detective Morrison was a veteran, 56 years old, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He listened as Marcus explained what happened. He listened to Elena's testimony. He examined the vial. "Mrs. Richardson," Detective Morrison said, "I'm placing you under arrest for attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Victoria didn't resist when they handcuffed her. She stood perfectly still, her face blank, as the metal clicked around her wrists. "There's someone else involved," Elena said suddenly. "A man named Derek Palmer. He's been coming here for months. They planned this together. Victoria's head snapped toward Elena. Shut up. Shut your mouth. He comes when Mr. Richardson is at work. They've been having an affair. I heard them planning the murder. Detective Morrison turned to Victoria. Is this true? Victoria said nothing. Ma'am, I'm going to need Mr. Palmer's address. I'm not telling you anything. I want a lawyer. Marcus spoke up. I can get you the address. My security system logs every license plate that enters the property. I'll have my people pull the records. Victoria's face went white. Marcus, don't. Please. Leave Derek out of this. He didn't know anything about the poison. It was all me. Then why are you trying to protect him? Victoria had no answer. They led her out of the bedroom, down the stairs, through the foyer where she had welcomed guests at 100 dinner parties, past the living room where she had entertained the elite of Beverly Hills. As she passed Elena, Victoria stopped. The officers let her have one moment. I hope you're happy, Victoria said. You've destroyed everything I worked for. Elena looked at her steadily. I saved a man's life. If that destroys you, then you deserve to be destroyed. Victoria's eyes blazed with hatred. Then she was gone, pushed through the front door and into the waiting police car. Elena watched the car drive away. The lights disappeared around the corner, and silence fell over the mansion. Marcus stood beside her. He looked older than he had that morning. Older and infinitely tired. Thank you, he said quietly. You saved my life, Elena. I don't know how to repay that. You don't have to repay anything, sir. I just did what was right. Most people wouldn't have. Most people would have looked the other way. Elena thought about her mother, about the words she had heard her whole life. Evil wins when good people do nothing, she said. My mother taught me that. I couldn't let you die when I knew the truth. Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. His eyes were wet. Your mother raised a remarkable woman. 45 minutes after Victoria's arrest, Detective Morrison called from the station. We picked up Derek Palmer, he said. He tried to run when he saw us coming. We found messages on his phone, thousands of them, between him and your wife. They've been planning this for months. Marcus closed his eyes. What do the messages say? Everything. The affair, the poison, how they were going to split your estate. There's even a message from 3 days ago where Mrs. Richardson wrote, and I quote, Friday night. He'll be tired from the deal falling through. Perfect time. By Saturday morning, I'll be a widow. Marcus's hand tightened on the phone. They knew the Morrison deal was going to fall through. Looks like it. There are messages about that too. Apparently Mr. Palmer has connections in commercial real estate. He may have had something to do with your investor backing out. The betrayal just kept getting deeper, layer after layer of deception. My own wife sabotaged my business deal so she could murder me. That's what the evidence suggests, sir. I'm sorry. Marcus hung up. He sat in his study for a long time, staring at nothing. Elena brought him tea, real tea made with her own hands. I know you probably don't want to drink anything right now, she said, but it might help. Marcus looked at the cup, then at Elena. You made this yourself? Yes, sir. I watched the water boil. I put the tea bag in myself. There's nothing in it but chamomile and honey. Marcus took the cup. His hands were shaking. I've been thinking, he said, about what you did tonight, about the risk you took. It wasn't a risk, sir. It was the only choice I could make. You could have lost your job, your income, your mother's medical care, everything you came to this country for. Some things are more important than money. Marcus smiled. The first real smile Elena had seen from him. Not many people believe that. Maybe not many people were raised by my mother. He took a sip of the tea. It was warm and soothing and tasted like safety. I want to do something for you, Marcus said. Something real. Not just a raise or a bonus. Something that will change your life. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. You gave me back my life tonight, Elena. Let me give you something in return. Elena didn't know what to say. She stood there holding the tray while Marcus Richardson looked at her like she was the only honest person he had ever met. 2 hours after the arrest, Marcus received another call. It was his lawyer, Robert Williams. 63 years old, ruthless in the courtroom, one of the best in California. I just heard what happened, Robert said. I'm on my way over. It's late, Robert. It can wait until morning. No, it can't. We need to talk about the prenup, and the estate, and what happens when this goes to trial. Robert arrived within the hour. He sat in Marcus's study with a yellow legal pad, taking notes while Marcus told him everything. Attempted murder with poison, Robert said when Marcus finished. Conspiracy. Possibly accessory to business fraud if Derek Palmer really did sabotage your deal. She's looking at 25 to life. Good. But there's a complication. What complication? The prenup. If you divorce her before conviction, she gets the settlement outlined in the agreement. A monthly allowance and one property. But if she's convicted of attempting to murder you, the prenup becomes void. She gets nothing. So I wait. You wait. Don't file for divorce until the trial is over. Let the criminal case run its course. Once she's convicted, you can divorce her without giving her a penny. Marcus nodded slowly. And the house, the accounts. Freeze everything. I'll file emergency motions in the morning. She won't be able to touch a dollar. Elena listened from the hallway. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but she couldn't help it. The amounts they were discussing were staggering. Hundreds of millions of dollars, properties across the country, investment accounts that earned more in interest each month than her entire village made in a year. And Victoria had tried to kill for all of it. Elena thought about greed, about what it did to people. Victoria had everything anyone could want: a beautiful home, a kind husband, more money than she could spend in 10 lifetimes. And it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Her mother had always said that greed was a disease, that it ate people from the inside until there was nothing left but hunger. Elena had never understood that until now. Midnight came and went. Robert left with a promise to return in the morning. The house fell quiet. Elena cleaned up the teacups and turned off the lights. She found Marcus still sitting in his study, staring at a photograph on his desk. His wedding photo. He and Victoria on their wedding day, smiling, happy, full of hope. I loved her, Marcus said without looking up. I really did love her. I know, sir. Was I a fool? Did everyone see what she was except me? You saw what she wanted you to see. That's not foolishness. That's trust. Marcus set the photograph face down. Trust, he repeated. I don't think I'll ever trust anyone again. That would be a shame, sir. There are still good people in the world. Marcus looked at her. Like you. Like many people. You just have to know where to look. He was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his desk and pulled out a checkbook. I'm writing you a check, he said. For your mother's medical treatment. All of it. Whatever she needs. Sir, I can't accept. You can, and you will. He wrote the check and held it out to her. This isn't charity, Elena. This isn't pity. This is payment for saving my life. You earned this. Elena looked at the check. The number on it was more than she had ever seen, more than she had ever dreamed. Mr. Richardson, this is too much. It's not enough, but it's a start. Elena took the check with trembling hands. Tears were running down her face again, but this time they were tears of something she had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. No, Elena, thank you. She went to her room and called her mother. It was late, but Rosa answered on the first ring. Mija, Is everything okay? Everything is okay, Mama. Everything is finally okay. You sound like you've been crying. What happened? Elena took a deep breath. I did something scary tonight, Mama. Something that could have ruined everything. But it was the right thing to do. Tell me. So Elena told her. Everything. The poison, the scream, the confrontation, the arrest, the check. When she finished, Rosa was silent for a long moment. Mija, she finally said, her voice thick with emotion. I am so proud of you. I was so scared, Mama. I thought I was going to lose everything. But you didn't. Because God protects those who do His work. You saved a man's life tonight, Elena. That is worth more than any job. I know, Mama. I know that now. And this money for my treatment? It's real, Mama. He gave me a check. We can afford the doctors now, the specialists, everything. Rosa began to cry. Elena cried with her. I told you, Rosa said through her tears. I told you that good things happen to good people. You were right, Mama. You were always right. They talked for another hour, about the treatment, about the future, about the life they might finally have. When Elena finally hung up, dawn was breaking over Beverly Hills. She had been awake for over 24 hours. Her body was exhausted, but her heart was full. She had done the right thing, and the right thing had saved her. 3 days later, the story hit the news. Every channel, every newspaper, every website. The scandal was too juicy to ignore. Billionaire's wife arrested for attempted murder. Poison plot exposed by humble Maid. The headlines wrote themselves. Reporters camped outside the mansion. Camera crews blocked the driveway. Everyone wanted an interview with Elena, the woman who had screamed 2 words that ended a marriage and saved a life. Elena refused them all. I don't want attention, she told Marcus. I just want to do my job. The press won't leave you alone. Then I'll stay inside until they do. But the press had other stories to chase. 3 days turned into a week. The cameras disappeared. The reporters moved on to the next scandal. And Victoria Richardson sat in a jail cell waiting for her trial. Derek Palmer sat in a cell beside her. They had tried to destroy a good man for money, and a poor maid from New Mexico had stopped them with 2 words. Don't drink it. The trial was set for 6 weeks later, October 15th, a date that would be burned into Marcus Richardson's memory forever. In those 6 weeks, everything changed. Elena's mother arrived in Los Angeles on the 2nd week of September. Rosa Morales had never been on an airplane before. She clutched Elena's hand through the entire flight, her eyes wide with wonder and fear as the ground fell away beneath them. Mija, Rosa whispered. We're flying. We're actually flying. I know, Mama. I know. The specialists at Cedars-Sinai took Rosa into treatment immediately. The lung disease was advanced, but not hopeless. With aggressive therapy with the medications she could never afford before there was a chance. A real chance. Your mother is a fighter, Dr. Patterson told Elena after the first week. I've seen younger patients give up with half her condition, but she refuses to quit. She's been fighting her whole life, Elena said. She doesn't know any other way. Marcus visited Rosa twice during those weeks. He brought flowers the first time, chocolates the second. Rosa was embarrassed by the attention. You shouldn't trouble yourself, Mr. Richardson, she said from her hospital bed. You're a busy man. I'm a man who owes your daughter everything, Marcus replied. The least I can do is make sure you're comfortable. Rosa looked at Elena with knowing eyes. My daughter saved your life. She did. And now you're saving mine. It seems only fair. Rosa smiled. It was the first time Elena had seen her mother smile in months. You're a good man, Mr. Richardson. I can see why my daughter risked everything for you. I'm not sure I deserve such loyalty. None of us deserve the grace we receive. We can only try to be worthy of it. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he took Rosa's weathered hand in his own. Your daughter is the bravest person I've ever met, he said. You should be very proud. I am, Rosa said, tears forming in her eyes. I always have been. While Rosa healed, the prosecution built its case. District Attorney Margaret Chen was a legend in Los Angeles legal circles. 61 years old, never lost a murder case feared by defense attorneys across the state. When she took Victoria's case personally, everyone knew it was over. This is as clear-cut as it gets, Margaret told the press outside the courthouse. We have the poison. We have the maid's testimony. We have thousands of text messages documenting the conspiracy. Mrs. Richardson and Mr. Palmer will spend the rest of their lives in prison. Victoria's defense attorney was Bradley Shaw. Expensive, arrogant, famous for getting rich clients off on technicalities. My client is innocent, Bradley declared to the same press corps. She was suffering from a mental breakdown brought on by years of emotional neglect. She didn't know what she was doing. The maid's testimony is unreliable. She barely speaks English and has a clear financial motive to lie. Elena watched the press conference on the small television in her room. Her hands clenched into fists when Bradley called her a liar. Don't let him get to you, Marcus said, standing in her doorway. He's doing his job. That's what defense attorneys do. He's calling me a liar. The truth will come out in court. The jury will see who's lying and who's telling the truth. What if they don't believe me? Marcus walked over and sat beside her. Elena, I've been in business for 60 years. I've negotiated with liars, cheats, and criminals from every corner of the world. You know what I've learned? What? The truth has a weight to it, a presence. You can feel it in the room, and when you speak, everyone in that courtroom will feel it. Elena wanted to believe him, but the fear wouldn't go away. 3 weeks before the trial, something unexpected happened. Elena was in the kitchen making breakfast when Marcus came downstairs. His face was pale. What's wrong? Elena asked immediately. Victoria wants to see me. Elena stopped stirring the eggs. See you in jail. Her attorney called. She says she has something important to tell me, something I need to know before the trial. It's a trap. Probably. You shouldn't go. Marcus sat down heavily at the kitchen table. What if it's not a trap? What if she has information that could affect the case? She tried to kill you, Mr. Richardson. Nothing she says can be trusted. I know. But I need to understand Elena. I need to know why. Really know. Not just her confession that night when she was angry and caught off guard. I need to look her in the eyes and hear the truth. Elena understood. She didn't agree, but she understood. Then let me come with you. To the jail? You shouldn't face her alone. She still has power over you. I saw it that night. Even after everything, part of you still loved her. Marcus looked away. That part is dead now. Are you sure? He didn't answer. The visit was scheduled for September 28th, 2 weeks before the trial. Marcus and Elena arrived at the county jail at 10 in the morning. They were led through security checkpoints, metal detectors, locked doors that clanged shut behind them with awful finality. Victoria was waiting in a small visitation room. She wore an orange jumpsuit. No makeup. Her hair was unwashed and pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked 10 years older than she had 3 weeks ago. When she saw Elena, her eyes flickered with hatred, but she controlled it. Marcus, she said, thank you for coming. What do you want, Victoria? Straight to business. That was always your style. She gestured to the chairs across from her. Please, sit. Marcus sat. Elena stood behind him, arms crossed. I see you brought your watchdog, Victoria said, glancing at Elena. She saved my life. She's earned the right to hear whatever you have to say. Victoria's jaw tightened, but she let it go. I wanted to apologize, she began. Marcus laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. Apologize? You tried to murder me. I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? Victoria was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller, almost vulnerable. Both. I'm sorry for both. Marcus leaned forward. Why, Victoria? I gave you everything. Everything you ever asked for. Why wasn't it enough? Because I was already broken when I met you. The words hung in the air. My first husband, Victoria continued. The one before you. He wasn't who I said he was. I told you we divorced because we grew apart. That was a lie. Marcus waited. He was abusive, violent. He controlled every aspect of my life. When I finally found the courage to leave him, he took everything. The house, the savings, even my daughter. Elena felt her breath catch. Daughter Marcus's face showed the same shock. You have a daughter. Had. She was 7 when I left. David got full custody. Said I was an unfit mother. He had lawyers. I had nothing. By the time I scraped together enough money to fight him in court, she didn't want to see me anymore. He turned her against me. Tears were streaming down Victoria's face now. Real tears, Elena thought. Or was this another performance? When I met you, I was empty, hollow. I had lost everything that mattered. And you were so kind, Marcus, so generous. I thought if I had money, real money, I could find her. I could win her back. I could show her that I wasn't the monster her father made me out to be. So, you married me for money, Marcus said flatly. At first, yes. But then something changed. I started to care about you. Really care. And that terrified me. So you decided to kill me. Victoria wiped her eyes. Derek came along when I was at my lowest. You were working constantly. I was alone in that big house. He made me feel wanted, alive, and then he started planting ideas, telling me I deserved more, telling me you were using me just like David had used me. That's a lie. I know that now, but I didn't see it then. Derek twisted everything, made me believe that killing you was the only way to be free, the only way to have enough money to find my daughter. Marcus sat back. His face was unreadable. Your daughter, he said slowly. What's her name? Catherine. Katie. She'd be 32 now. Have you tried to find her since the arrest? Victoria laughed bitterly. What would I say? Hi, Katie, it's your mother. The one who abandoned you. I'm in jail for trying to murder my husband. Want to reconnect. Elena spoke for the first time. Is this why you asked to see Mr. Richardson? To get sympathy. Victoria turned to look at her. The hatred was still there, but mixed with something else. Exhaustion, maybe. Or defeat. I asked to see him because I wanted him to understand, not to forgive me. I know that's impossible, but to understand that I wasn't always a monster. That something made me this way. Something, Elena repeated. Or someone. Both. My ex-husband broke me. Derek finished the job. Marcus stood up. I appreciate you telling me this, Victoria. But it doesn't change anything. I know. You still tried to kill me. You still would have killed me if Elena hadn't stopped you. I know. And you're still going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Victoria nodded slowly. I know that too. Marcus turned to leave. Then he stopped. One more question. Yes. The Morrison deal. The investor who backed out. Was that Derek? Victoria's face gave her away before she spoke. Yes, she whispered. Derek knew someone at the firm. He made some calls, got them to pull out at the last minute. He said it would stress you out, make you tired, make the heart attack more believable. Marcus closed his eyes. 2 years of work, sabotaged by his wife's lover, so she could murder him. Goodbye, Victoria. Marcus, wait. But he was already walking out the door. Elena followed without looking back. In the car, Marcus was silent for a long time. Elena didn't push him. She just sat beside him as the driver navigated through traffic. Finally, Marcus spoke. "I don't know how to feel." "About what she told you?" "About any of it. She had a daughter. A whole life I knew nothing about. She was abused. Traumatized. Does that excuse what she did?" "No," Elena said quietly. "But it explains it." "Is there a difference?" "Yes. A big difference. Understanding why someone became a monster doesn't make them less of a monster. It just makes them a monster with a backstory." Marcus looked at her with something like admiration. "When did you become so wise?" "My mother always says that understanding evil is not the same as accepting it. We can feel compassion for how someone got broken without forgiving what they broke." "Your mother should write a book." Elena smiled slightly. "She says her life is her book. Every wrinkle tells a chapter." 2 days before the trial, Derek Palmer tried to cut a deal. He offered to testify against Victoria in exchange for a reduced sentence. He would tell the court everything: the affair, the poison, the sabotaged business deal, every detail of their conspiracy. District Attorney Chen considered the offer for exactly 15 minutes. "No deal," she told Derek's lawyer. "We have enough evidence to convict both of them. I don't need his testimony, and I won't reward betrayal with leniency." Derek's lawyer tried to negotiate. "My client has information about other crimes. Crimes that haven't been charged yet." "What crimes?" "Financial fraud. Mrs. Richardson has been embezzling from her husband's charitable foundation for years, millions of dollars. My client can provide proof." This got Chen's attention. "Tell me more." Derek sang like a canary. He told them about the offshore accounts Victoria had set up, the fake vendors she had created, the charity events that raised money for causes that existed only on paper. Over 3 years, Victoria had stolen nearly $4 million from the Richardson Foundation. She was building an escape fund, Derek explained to investigators, in case the poisoning didn't work, or in case she had to disappear. When Marcus heard about the embezzlement, something finally broke inside him. $4 million, he said, sitting in his study with Robert Williams. She stole $4 million from children's hospitals and homeless shelters. "The charity will need to be audited," Robert said. "We'll have to notify the board. The IRS will want to investigate. Do whatever needs to be done. I want every penny traced, every fake invoice documented. By the time this is over, I want the world to know exactly what kind of person Victoria Richardson really is." The trial began on October 15th, exactly as scheduled. The courtroom was packed. Media in the back rows, curious spectators filling every seat. And in the front, Marcus Richardson sat with Elena Morales beside him. Victoria was brought in wearing a dark suit provided by her lawyers for the occasion. She looked composed, almost serene, like she had accepted her fate and was ready to face it with dignity. Derek sat at a separate table. He wouldn't make eye contact with Victoria. Whatever had been between them was clearly over. District Attorney Chen's opening statement was devastating. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about greed. Pure, simple, murderous greed. Victoria Richardson had everything a woman could want. A beautiful home, a loving husband, more money than she could spend in 10 lifetimes. But it wasn't enough. She wanted more. She wanted it all. And she was willing to kill the man who had given her everything to get it." Bradley Shaw's opening was predictable. "My client is not a murderer. She is a victim. A victim of mental illness brought on by childhood trauma and emotional neglect. She needs treatment, not prison. She needs compassion, not condemnation." Then came the witnesses. First, the toxicologist. Dr. Raymond Park, an expert from UCLA, explained what potassium cyanide does to the human body. "It attacks the cellular level," Dr. Park said. "It prevents cells from using oxygen. The victim essentially suffocates from the inside." Death typically occurs within 1 to 2 hours, depending on the dose. It's an extremely painful way to die. The jury looked at Victoria with horror. Then came Detective Morrison, who walked the jury through the investigation. The vial. The text messages. Derek's confession. Every piece of evidence presented calmly and methodically. Bradley Shaw cross-examined aggressively, looking for any inconsistency. He found none. On the third day of the trial, Elena took the stand. Her heart was pounding as she walked to the witness box. She could feel Victoria's eyes on her, burning with hatred. She could feel the jury watching, judging, deciding whether to believe her. District Attorney Chen approached gently. "Ms. Morales, can you tell us in your own words what happened on the night of September 8th? Elena took a deep breath. "I was in my room when Mrs. Richardson told me to take the evening off. She said she wanted private time with her husband, but something felt wrong. So I watched her through a crack in my door." "What did you see?" "I saw her prepare tea in the kitchen, Mr. Richardson's favorite cup. Then I saw her look around to make sure she was alone. She opened her purse and took out a small glass vial. She poured white powder from the vial into the tea." "Did you know what the powder was?" "Not for certain, but I had overheard her phone conversations over the previous weeks. I heard her talking about poison, about making it look like a heart attack, about how she would finally be free." The jury leaned forward. "What did you do after you saw her pour the powder into the tea?" Elena's voice was steady. "I followed her to the bedroom. I watched her knock on the door. I heard Mr. Richardson tell her to come in. I saw her offer him the tea. And when he reached for the cup, I screamed." "What did you scream?" Elena looked directly at Victoria. "Don't drink it." The courtroom was silent. "I told him there was poison in the tea, that I had seen her put it in. Mrs. Richardson denied everything. She said I was lying. But Mr. Richardson found the vial in her purse just where I said it would be." Bradley Shaw rose for cross-examination. His voice was sharp, aggressive. "Ms. Morales, you're an immigrant, correct? You came to this country illegally. I came legally on a work visa. But your mother is receiving expensive medical treatment you could never afford on a maid salary. Isn't that right? Mr. Richardson helped with my mother's treatment after I saved his life, not before. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say?" "Objection," District Attorney Chen called out. "Counsel is implying facts, not in evidence." "Sustained," the judge said. Bradley Shaw continued undeterred. "Isn't it true, Ms. Morales, that you had romantic feelings for Mr. Richardson? That you saw Mrs. Richardson as a rival?" Elena stared at him in disbelief. "Mr. Richardson is 72 years old. He is kind to me like a grandfather would be. There are no romantic feelings, only respect and gratitude. A poor immigrant maid, grateful to a billionaire, grateful enough to lie for him." "I am not lying. I saw what I saw. You saw a woman making tea for her husband. That's all you saw. The rest is speculation and fantasy invented by a woman who wanted to ingratiate herself with a wealthy man." Elena's hands were shaking, but her voice did not waver. "I saw Victoria Richardson pour poison into her husband's tea. I saw her try to murder him. And when I screamed those 2 words, she knew exactly what she had been caught doing. You can twist facts and attack my character, but you cannot change the truth. The truth is that Mrs. Richardson is a murderer who got stopped before she could finish the job." The jury nodded. Bradley Shaw had no more questions. The trial lasted 11 days. On the 12th day, the jury deliberated for just 4 hours. When they filed back into the courtroom, Elena held her breath. Marcus gripped the armrest of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. The judge asked the foreperson to rise. "On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, how do you find the defendant, Victoria Richardson?" The foreperson's voice rang clear through the silent courtroom. "Guilty." Victoria's face showed no emotion. She had known this was coming. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, how do you find guilty? On the charge of embezzlement and fraud, guilty. The gavel came down. The sentencing would come later, but everyone knew what it meant. Victoria Richardson would spend the rest of her life in prison. As the guards led her away, Victoria turned one last time. She looked at Marcus, then at Elena. "You think you've won," she said quietly. "But you haven't. Some things can't be fixed, Marcus. Some things once broken stay broken forever." Then she was gone. Marcus sat in the courtroom for a long time after everyone else had left. Elena sat beside him, silent, waiting. "She's right, you know," Marcus finally said. "About what?" "About being broken. About some things never getting fixed." He turned to look at Elena. "I'll never trust anyone again. Not the way I trusted her. Trust takes time to rebuild. I'm 72 years old. How much time do I have?" Elena didn't have an answer for that, but she stayed beside him anyway as the afternoon light faded and the empty courtroom grew dark. 3 weeks after the verdict, Marcus called Elena into his study. It was November now. The trees outside had turned gold and red. Rosa was still at Cedars-Sinai, but the doctors were optimistic. The treatments were working. For the first time in years, she could breathe without pain. "Sit down," Marcus said. "Please." Elena sat nervously. Something in his voice told her this was important. "I've been thinking," Marcus began, "about what comes next. For me. For you. For everyone touched by what happened." "What do you mean?" Marcus pulled an envelope from his desk drawer and slid it across to her. "Open it." Elena picked up the envelope. It was thick, official-looking. She opened it carefully and pulled out the papers inside. Her eyes went wide. This is a scholarship application. To UCLA. Not just an application. An acceptance letter. Full ride. Tuition books housing everything. Pre-law program. You start in January." Elena's hands were shaking. "Mr. Richardson, I can't." "You can, and you will. I never even applied. How is this possible?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "I have friends on the board of trustees. I told them about you, about what you did, about who you are. They agreed that someone with your courage and integrity deserves a chance to become something more than a maid." Tears were streaming down Elena's face now. "But my mother, she needs me here. I can't just leave her." "Your mother will be transferred to a private recovery facility in Westwood, 5 minutes from campus. You can visit her every day between classes. I've already arranged everything." Elena stared at him. Why are you doing all this?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Because 60 years ago, I was you. A poor kid from nowhere with nothing but determination and a dream. Someone gave me a chance. A man named Harold Foster. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He paid for my first year of business school. He connected me with people who could help. Without him, I would be nothing. What happened to him? He died before I could repay him. Heart attack. I was 26 years old. I had just closed my first big deal. I was going to surprise him with a check for everything he had given me, plus interest. But I was 2 days too late." Marcus's eyes were wet. "I swore on his grave that someday I would do for someone else what Harold did for me. I've been waiting 60 years to keep that promise. And then you came along." Elena couldn't speak. She just sat there, tears falling onto the acceptance letter in her hands. "You saved my life, Elena. Let me give you a new one." 2 days later, Elena told her mother about the scholarship. Rosa was sitting up in her hospital bed, stronger than she had been in months. The color was returning to her cheeks. Her eyes had life in them again. "A lawyer," Rosa said slowly. "My daughter is going to be a lawyer. If I can do it, if I'm smart enough." Rosa grabbed Elena's hand with surprising strength. "You listen to me, mija. You are the smartest, bravest person I have ever known. You saved a man's life. You stood up against evil when everyone told you to look away. You can do anything. I'm scared, Mama. Good. Fear means you're about to do something important. I was scared when I left my village to marry your father. I was scared when I had you. I was scared when you left for Los Angeles. But I did it anyway. And so will you. Elena hugged her mother tightly. I love you, Mama. I love you too, Mija. Now go become something magnificent. December came cold and bright. Elena spent her days preparing for school and her evenings with Marcus. They had developed an unexpected friendship. He would tell her stories about his early days in business. She would tell him about her village in New Mexico. Two people from completely different worlds connected by a single moment of courage. One evening, Marcus asked her a question that caught her off guard. Have you ever thought about finding Victoria's daughter? Elena looked up from the book she was reading. Catherine. Why would I do that? Because someone should tell her the truth. About her mother. About what really happened. She deserves to know. It's not my place. Maybe not. But Victoria mentioned something during our jail visit. She said Catherine was turned against her by her ex-husband. What if that's true? What if Catherine spent her whole life believing lies about her mother? Her mother tried to murder you. Yes, but before she became a murderer, she was a mother who lost her child. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it might explain it. Elena thought about this for a long time. Do you want me to find her? I want you to decide for yourself. But I'll tell you this, if I had a daughter out there somewhere wondering who I really was, I would want someone to tell her the truth. The whole truth. Not just the parts that made me look evil. Even if the truth is that you tried to kill someone. Even then. Because half-truths are worse than lies. At least with lies, you know where you stand. Elena found Catherine Foster 3 days before Christmas. It wasn't hard. Victoria's maiden name was in the court records. Her first husband, David Foster, was mentioned in the divorce proceedings from 30 years ago. And Catherine Foster had a social media presence like everyone in her generation. She lived in Portland, Oregon. She was a social worker specializing in domestic abuse cases. The irony was not lost on Elena. Elena debated for 2 days about whether to reach out. In the end, she wrote a letter. Old-fashioned, handwritten, honest. Dear Catherine, the letter began. My name is Elena Morales. You don't know me, but I have information about your mother that I believe you deserve to hear. I am not asking for anything. I am not looking for money or attention. I simply believe that the truth matters even when it's painful. If you would like to know more, please contact me at the address below. If you would prefer to leave the past alone, I will respect your decision and never contact you again. She mailed the letter on December 22nd. Catherine called on December 26th. Is this Elena Morales? Yes. This is Catherine Foster. I got your letter. Elena's heart was pounding. Thank you for calling. I almost didn't. When I saw my mother's name, I almost threw the letter away. I haven't spoken to her in 25 years. I understand? No, you don't. You can't possibly understand what it's like to have a mother who abandoned you, who chose her own life over her daughter. You're right. I don't understand that. But I do understand having a mother who sacrificed everything for me. And I think maybe you deserve to know that your mother tried to do the same for you, in her own broken way. The line was silent for a long moment. What do you mean? So Elena told her. Everything, the affair, the poison, the arrest, the trial, and the reason Victoria gave for her actions trying to get enough money to find her daughter, to prove she wasn't the monster David had made her out to be. When Elena finished, Catherine was crying. She did it for me. She tried to kill a man for me. That's what she said. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if anything Victoria says is true, but I thought you deserved to hear it. Why do you care about any of this? Because my mother taught me that everyone deserves to know the truth about where they came from, even when that truth is ugly. Catherine was quiet again. Would you come to Portland? I'd like to meet you in person. I have questions. So many questions. I can come in January, after I start school. You're in school. I'm starting law school. Pre-law, actually. At UCLA. How old are you? 24. Catherine laughed softly through her tears. 24 and already braver than I've ever been. I'm not brave. I'm just doing what's right. That's the same thing. Elena flew to Portland on January 15th, 2 weeks after starting classes. Catherine met her at the airport. She was tall with Victoria's cheekbones and dark hair, but her eyes were different. Softer. There was pain there, but also kindness. They went to a coffee shop near the waterfront. For 2 hours, Elena answered Catherine's questions. About Victoria. About Marcus. About the night Elena screamed those 2 words that changed everything. She really said she did it to find me, Catherine asked for the 3rd time. She said that was part of it. The money. She thought with enough money she could hire lawyers, private investigators, whatever it took to find you, and prove she wasn't the person your father said she was. Catherine stared into her coffee cup. My father told me she was crazy. He said she abandoned us because she didn't love me enough to stay. He said she was selfish and cruel, and that I should forget she ever existed. Was he telling the truth? I don't know anymore. I spent my whole life believing him. But now... She shook her head. Now I don't know what to believe. You could visit her. In prison? Ask her yourself. Catherine looked up sharply. I can't. Why not? Because what if she's lying? What if everything she told you was just another manipulation? What if I go there and find out my mother is exactly the monster my father said she was? Then at least you'll know. At least you won't spend the rest of your life wondering. Catherine was quiet for a long time. You're wise for someone so young. My mother says wisdom isn't about age, it's about paying attention to pain yours and other people's. Your mother sounds amazing. She is. She's the reason I'm here. The reason I'm anything. They talked for another hour. About childhood. About family. About the complicated ways love can twist into something unrecognizable. When they parted at the airport, Catherine hugged Elena tightly. Thank you, she whispered, for finding me, for telling me the truth. What will you do now? Catherine pulled back and wiped her eyes. I don't know. Maybe I'll visit her. Maybe I won't. But at least now I have a choice. That's more than I had before. February brought unexpected news. Elena was in the library studying for her first midterm when her phone rang. It was Marcus. You need to come home, he said. Right away. What's wrong? Your mother. There's been a complication. Elena's blood turned to ice. She ran out of the library without gathering her books, drove to Cedars-Sinai at dangerous speeds, burst through the hospital doors with her heart pounding in her ears. She found Marcus in the waiting room. His face was pale. What happened? She collapsed this morning. The doctors are with her now. They're not telling me anything. Elena sank into the chair beside him. I thought she was getting better. They said she was getting better. She was. But these things are unpredictable. The lung disease, the treatments her age. Sometimes the body just gives up. She can't give up. She's a fighter. You said so yourself. I know. They waited. Minutes felt like hours. Every time a doctor walked by, Elena jumped to her feet. Every time they kept walking. Finally, Dr. Patterson appeared. His face was serious, but not grim. Elena, Mr. Richardson. How is she? Elena's voice cracked. She's stable. We had a scare. Her lung collapsed partially, and we had to reinflate it. But she's breathing on her own now. She's asking for you. Elena nearly collapsed with relief. Can I see her? Yes, but keep it short. She needs rest. Elena found her mother in the ICU. Rosa looked small in the hospital bed surrounded by machines and monitors. But when she saw Elena, she smiled. Mija, You came. Of course I came. I'll always come. You should be in school, studying. You're more important than any school. Rosa reached for Elena's hand. Her grip was weak but warm. I scared you. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, Mama. Just get better. Please get better. Rosa's eyes were wet. I'm trying, mija, but my body is tired. So tired. Then rest. Rest and let the doctors help you. I'll be right here. You can't stay here forever. Watch me. Rosa smiled through her tears. Stubborn girl, just like your father. They sat in silence for a while, holding hands, listening to the steady beep of the heart monitor. Elena, Rosa said finally, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm proud of you. More proud than words can say. Whatever happens to me, I want you to know that. You are my greatest achievement, my greatest joy. Everything I suffered, everything I sacrificed, it was worth it, because it made you. Mama, don't talk like that. You're going to be fine. I hope so. But if I'm not, if God decides it's my time, I want you to keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. Become the lawyer you were meant to be. Help people like Mr. Richardson helped us. Promise me. Elena was crying now. I promise, Mama. I promise. Rosa squeezed her hand one more time. Good girl. Now go. Let me sleep. March came with spring rain and cautious hope. Rosa was released from the hospital on March 3rd. She was weaker than before, but alive. The doctor said she would need ongoing care, but the worst was behind her. She had survived. Elena moved her to the private facility in Westwood, just as Marcus had arranged. It was beautiful there. Gardens she could walk through when she felt strong. Kind nurses who checked on her around the clock. And best of all, it was 5 minutes from Elena's campus. Elena visited every day, sometimes twice a day. She would bring her textbooks and study in her mother's room while Rosa napped. It wasn't conventional, but it worked. You don't have to come so often, Rosa said one afternoon. I want to. You have a life to live, mija. Friends to make, experiences to have. You are my experience. You are my life. Rosa shook her head. That's not healthy. I won't always be here. You need to learn to live without me. Don't say that. It's true. Every mother's job is to teach her children how to live without her. I've done everything else. This is the last lesson. Elena didn't want to hear it, but deep down she knew her mother was right. April brought another surprise. Catherine had finally visited Victoria in prison. Elena got a call late one night after midnight, Catherine's voice thick with emotion. I went to see her. How was it? Horrible, wonderful, confusing. Everything I expected, and nothing like I imagined. What did she say? Catherine took a deep breath. She cried. My mother, who I remember as cold and distant, cried when she saw me. She said she's been trying to find me for 20 years. She said losing me was the worst thing that ever happened to her. Worse than prison. Worse than anything. Do you believe her? I don't know. Maybe. She seemed different from the woman my father described. Broken, yes, but not evil. Just sad. Incredibly, profoundly sad. Are you going to visit her again? I don't know that either. But at least I went. At least I looked her in the eyes and heard her side of the story. You were right, Elena. The truth matters, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Catherine was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think people can change? Really change? Or are we all just stuck being who we are? Elena thought about Victoria, about Derek, about Marcus, about herself. I think people can change, but only if they want to. Only if they're willing to do the hard work of becoming someone different. Victoria chose her path. She could have chosen differently. She still can even in prison. But she has to want it. That's what scares me. I don't know if she wants it. I don't know if she's capable of wanting it. Then that's her choice. It doesn't have to be yours. Catherine sighed. You really should become a lawyer. You have a way of cutting through the confusion. I'm working on it. May arrived with Elena's first year of law school coming to an end. She had survived. More than survived. She had excelled. Her professors praised her work. Her classmates respected her insights. She was top 10 in her class, a remarkable achievement for someone who had never imagined going to college. On the last day of finals, Marcus threw a party at the mansion. Just a small gathering. Elena's mother, Robert Williams, Dr. Patterson, a few of Elena's classmates. But it felt like a celebration of everything that had happened in the past year. I want to make a toast, Marcus said, raising his glass. To Elena Morales. 1 year ago, she was a maid in my house. She earned minimum wage and sent every penny to her dying mother. Today, she is a law student at UCLA, top of her class, with a future brighter than anything I've ever seen. And none of us would be here if not for 2 words she screamed on a September night. Everyone raised their glasses. Don't drink it, Marcus said, smiling. The 2 words that saved my life. The 2 words that changed everything. To Elena. To Elena, everyone echoed. Elena felt her face flush with embarrassment and pride. Thank you, she said quietly. Thank you all. But I didn't do anything special. I just did what anyone would do. No, Rosa said from her wheelchair. You did what most people are afraid to do. You stood up. You spoke out. You risked everything for what was right. That's not ordinary. That's extraordinary. Elena looked at her mother, at Marcus, at everyone gathered in that room. A year ago, she had been nobody. A poor girl from nowhere. A maid who barely existed in the world's eyes. Now she was becoming something, someone, and it all started with a scream. Later that night, after the guests had gone, Elena sat with Marcus on the terrace. What happens now? She asked. What do you mean? The trial is over. Victoria is in prison. I'm in school. What happens to you? Marcus looked out at the city lights. I don't know. I've spent 60 years building an empire. But for the first time, I'm not sure what any of it means. What's the point of having everything if you have no one to share it with? You're not alone. No, thanks to you I'm not. But I'm also 73 years old. My wife tried to kill me. My business partner betrayed me. Everyone I trusted turned out to be using me. At some point you start to wonder if it's them or you. It's not you, Mr. Richardson. How can you be sure? Elena thought for a moment. Because you gave a poor maid from New Mexico a chance when no one else would. Because you paid for my mother's treatment without asking for anything in return. Because you're here right now asking these questions. Bad people don't ask these questions. They don't wonder if they're the problem. They just assume everyone else is. Marcus smiled slightly. Your mother really did raise a wise woman. She did her best. Will you stay? After you graduate, I mean. Will you stay in Los Angeles? Elena hadn't thought about it. Everything had happened so fast. School, her mother's illness, the trial, Catherine. She had been surviving, not planning. I don't know. Where would I go? Anywhere. You could work for any firm in the country. I could make calls, open doors. You could go back to New Mexico if you wanted. Start your own practice. Help people in your village. Is that what you think I should do? I think you should do whatever makes you happy. You've spent your whole life taking care of other people. Your mother. Me. At some point you need to ask yourself what Elena wants. It was a question she had never asked. A question she didn't know how to answer. I'll think about it, she said finally. Take your time. You have plenty of it. But as it turned out, time was the one thing they didn't have. Because 3 days later, everything changed again. The call came at 3 in the morning on May 18th. Elena was deep asleep in her apartment near campus when her phone started ringing. She fumbled for it in the darkness, her heart already pounding with dread. Nothing good ever came from calls at 3 in the morning. Hello? Elena? It was Robert Williams Marcus's lawyer. His voice was strained. You need to come to Cedars-Sinai, right now. My mother. Is it my mother? No, it's Marcus. He had a heart attack 2 hours ago. He's in surgery. Elena was out of bed before Robert finished speaking. She threw on clothes, grabbed her keys, drove through empty streets with her hands shaking on the wheel. Not Marcus. Please, God, not Marcus. She burst through the hospital doors at 3:45. Robert was waiting in the cardiac surgery wing, his face gray with exhaustion and worry. What happened? He was at home working late. His housekeeper found him unconscious in his study. She called 911 immediately. They've been operating for almost 3 hours. Is he going to make it? Robert's silence told her everything. The doctors aren't optimistic. His heart was already weak from the stress of the past year. The trial, the betrayal, everything. They're doing what they can, but... Elena sank into a chair. The world tilted around her. He can't die. Not now. Not after everything. Elena, I need to tell you something. Something Marcus made me promise to tell you if anything ever happened to him. She looked up. Robert reached into his briefcase and pulled out an envelope. It was thick, sealed with Elena's name written on the front in Marcus's distinctive handwriting. He gave me this 6 months ago, after the trial. He said if he ever died, I should make sure you got it immediately. Elena took the envelope with trembling hands. She tore it open. Inside was a letter, and behind the letter, a stack of legal documents. Dear Elena, the letter began. If you're reading this, then I'm either dead or dying. I hope neither is true, but at 73, one must prepare for the inevitable. I want you to know that meeting you was the greatest gift of my final years. You showed me that goodness still exists in this world. That honor and courage and integrity are not just words in old books. That one person acting with conviction can change everything. I have lived a long life. I have built an empire. I have made more money than any person deserves. But I have never done anything as important as what you did on that September night. You saved my life with 2 words. Now I want to try to save yours with a few more. The documents behind this letter are my will. I have left the bulk of my estate to charitable foundations that will continue my work long after I'm gone. But I have also made provisions for you. Elena, I am leaving you $20 million. Not as payment for saving my life. No amount could ever repay that, but as an investment in your future. Use it to finish law school. Use it to take care of your mother. Use it to build a life that matters. There is one condition. You must promise to help others the way I tried to help you. Pay it forward, as the saying goes. Find people who are struggling and give them a chance. Find people who are afraid and give them courage. Find people who are alone and give them hope. This is my legacy, Elena. Not the buildings with my name on them. Not the companies I built. You. You are my legacy. What you do with your life, how you choose to live the people you help along the way, that is what will matter when everything else is forgotten. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the courage. Thank you for the truth. Thank you for reminding an old man that the world can still surprise him. With love and gratitude, Marcus Richardson. Elena was sobbing by the time she finished reading. $20 million, Robert said quietly. Plus provisions for your mother's lifetime care. Plus a scholarship fund in your name that will help 12 students from underprivileged backgrounds attend law school every year. I don't want his money. I want him to live. I know, but Marcus prepared for every possibility. He wanted to make sure you were taken care of no matter what happened. At 5:15 in the morning, a surgeon emerged from the operating room. Elena jumped to her feet. Her heart stopped. The surgeon's face was exhausted, but not defeated. He made it through surgery. The next 48 hours are critical, but he's a fighter. We repaired the damage to his heart. If there are no complications, he has a good chance of recovery. Elena nearly collapsed with relief. Robert caught her arm. Can I see him? He's unconscious and will be for several hours. But yes, you can sit with him. Elena spent the next 2 days at Marcus's bedside. She held his hand. She talked to him even though he couldn't hear her. She told him about her classes, about her mother, about everything and nothing. She told him he wasn't allowed to die. She told him she still needed him. On the second day, Marcus opened his eyes. Elena. His voice was barely a whisper. I'm here. I'm right here. What happened? You had a heart attack. You almost died. Marcus smiled weakly. Almost only counts in horseshoes. Elena laughed through her tears. You scared me half to death. Sorry about that. He tried to sit up, then winced. Did Robert give you my letter? Yes. And the will? Yes. Good. Now you can stop working so hard. You're going to be a very wealthy woman. I don't care about the money. I know. That's why I gave it to you. Marcus spent 3 weeks in the hospital recovering. During that time, Elena visited every day. She brought him books, news from campus, updates on her mother's progress. She read to him when he was too tired to read himself. She sat with him in silence when he needed rest. One afternoon, Marcus asked the question that had been hanging between them. Have you thought about what you're going to do after you graduate, I mean? Elena had been thinking about it constantly. The money changed everything and nothing. She could go anywhere, do anything. The world was suddenly wide open. I want to help people, she said finally. People like me. People who came from nothing and have no one to fight for them. Legal aid, maybe, or a non-profit, something that makes a difference. Marcus nodded slowly. I had a thought. A proposal, actually. What kind of proposal? The Richardson Foundation needs a new director, someone to oversee our charitable work, someone with integrity and vision, someone who knows what it's like to be in need and who will never forget where they came from. You're offering me a job. I'm offering you a mission. The foundation has over $200 million in assets. We fund schools, hospitals, scholarships, community programs. But since Victoria's embezzlement was exposed, we've lost credibility. We need someone the public can trust. Someone with a story they can believe in. I'm not qualified. I'm still a student. You'll graduate in 2 years. In the meantime, you can learn. Shadow our current staff. Study nonprofit management. By the time you pass the bar, you'll be ready. Elena didn't know what to say. You don't have to decide now. Marcus continued. Take your time. But know that the offer is there. Whatever you choose, I'll support you. Why me? You could hire anyone. Experienced executives, established lawyers, people with decades of expertise. Because expertise can be bought. Character cannot. You have something that money can't purchase and training can't teach. You have a heart that knows right from wrong. In my experience, that's the rarest thing in the world. 'Tis. June brought Elena's mother home. Not to the facility in Westwood, but to a small house in a quiet neighborhood that Elena purchased with a fraction of the money Marcus had given her. It had a garden where Rosa could grow vegetables. It had a porch where she could sit in the morning sun. It had a kitchen where she could cook the recipes she had learned from her mother and her mother's mother. This is too much, Rosa said when she saw it. Elena, this is too much. It's not enough. It will never be enough. You gave me everything, Mama. Your whole life you worked and sacrificed and suffered so I could have a chance. This is just a house. You deserve a palace. Rosa walked through the rooms, slowly touching the walls, the furniture, the curtains. Tears streamed down her face. I never imagined this. In my wildest dreams, I never imagined any of this. Neither did I. But here we are. Rosa turned to her daughter and held her face in both hands. You are a miracle, mija. My miracle. No, Mama, you are the miracle. Everything I am, everything I have, it started with you. Your strength, your faith, your love. You taught me to be good when the world wanted me to be selfish. You taught me to be brave when everyone said to be afraid. You taught me that one person can make a difference. They held each other for a long time. Mother and daughter, two women who had come so far from the dusty village in New Mexico. July brought an unexpected visitor. Catherine Foster flew in from Portland to meet Elena in person one more time. They sat in Elena's new apartment drinking coffee, talking like old friends. "I visited her again," Catherine said. "My mother. Last month." "How was it?" "Better. Still complicated, but better. We're starting to build something. I don't know what to call it yet. Not forgiveness exactly. Maybe understanding. That's more than most people get. She asked about you, about the woman who saved Marcus Richardson's life. She wanted me to tell you something." "What?" Catherine set down her coffee cup. "She wanted me to tell you that you were the only one who ever stood up to her. In her whole life, everyone either feared her or used her or let her do whatever she wanted. But you looked her in the eye and told her no. You stopped her. She said in a strange way she's grateful. Grateful for being caught. Grateful for being stopped before she became something worse. She said if you hadn't screamed those two words, she would have killed Marcus. And then she would have had to live with that forever. At least now she's just an attempted murderer, not an actual one." "That's a strange kind of gratitude." "My mother is a strange kind of person. Broken, definitely. Evil, maybe. But somewhere inside her there's still a piece that knows right from wrong. You reached that piece. No one else ever could." Elena thought about Victoria sitting in her prison cell, alone, defeated, but maybe somehow finding redemption in the strangest possible way. "I hope she finds peace," Elena said finally. "I don't forgive her. I don't think I ever will, but I hope she finds peace. That's more than she deserves. Maybe. But holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. My mother taught me that." Catherine smiled. "Your mother sounds incredible." "She is. Would you like to meet her?" August came with the one-year anniversary of the night Elena screamed. Marcus hosted a dinner at his mansion, a small gathering of everyone who had been touched by what happened. Elena and Rosa, Robert Williams, Catherine, who flew in from Portland, Dr. Patterson, who had saved Rosa's life, Detective Morrison, who had put Victoria behind bars. They sat around the dining room table eating food that Elena had helped prepare, sharing stories and memories. "1 year ago tonight," Marcus said, raising his glass, "I almost died. A cup of poisoned tea was inches from my lips. My wife, the woman I trusted most in the world, was about to murder me for my money. And then a poor maid from New Mexico did something extraordinary. She screamed." Everyone looked at Elena. She felt her face flush. "Don't drink it," Marcus continued. 2 words. That's all it took. 2 words to save my life, to expose a murderer, to change everything. I've thought about those 2 words every single day since. I've wondered what would have happened if Elena had stayed silent. If she had looked the other way. If she had been too afraid to speak. He paused, his eyes wet. But she wasn't. She stood up. She spoke out. She risked everything for a man she barely knew. And because of that, I'm here tonight. Because of that, we're all here tonight. Marcus lifted his glass higher. "To Elena Morales, the bravest person I've ever known, the best investment I've ever made, the daughter I never had, but somehow found anyway." "To Elena," everyone echoed. Elena didn't know what to say, so she simply raised her own glass. "To second chances," she said quietly, "and to the people who give them." 2 years later, Elena graduated from UCLA Law School. She finished top of her class. She passed the bar on her first attempt. She had job offers from every major firm in Los Angeles, with salaries that would have seemed impossible just 3 years earlier. She turned them all down. Instead, she became the director of the Richardson Foundation. Marcus was there for her first day. 75, now slower than he used to be, but still sharp, still fighting. The heart attack had changed him, made him appreciate every moment in a way he never had before. "Are you ready?" he asked. "No," Elena admitted. "But my mother always said that's the best time to start something." "Your mother is a wise woman." "She is. She's also stubborn, opinionated, and convinced that she knows better than everyone about everything." Marcus laughed. "I wonder where you got that from?" Elena smiled. "No idea." In her first year as director, Elena tripled the Foundation's scholarship program. She established legal aid clinics in underserved communities across California. She created a fund specifically for immigrants who needed help navigating the system that had once seemed so impossible to her. Every year, she personally interviewed scholarship recipients. She looked for the same thing Marcus had seen in her honesty, courage, determination. The willingness to work hard and do what's right even when it's difficult. She found them everywhere. In community colleges and high schools, in immigrant communities and rural towns. Young people who reminded her of herself, who just needed someone to give them a chance. Rosa lived to see her daughter become everything she had dreamed. She watched Elena graduate. She watched her pass the bar. She watched her transform the Richardson Foundation into one of the most respected charities in California. Rosa passed away peacefully on a spring morning in her garden, surrounded by the flowers she had planted, holding her daughter's hand. "I'm so proud of you, mija," she whispered in her final moments. "So proud. I know, Mama. I love you. I love you too. Always and forever." Elena buried her mother in a beautiful cemetery overlooking the ocean. The headstone read, "Rosa Morales, beloved mother. Her courage lives on in her daughter." Marcus came to the funeral. So did Catherine. So did everyone whose lives had been touched by Elena's story. Standing at her mother's grave, Elena finally understood what her mother had been trying to teach her all along. Life is not about the money you make or the success you achieve. It's about the lives you touch, the people you help, the courage you show when the world tells you to be afraid. Rosa had never been rich. She had never been famous. She had never done anything that would make the newspapers. But she had raised a daughter who saved a man's life with 2 words. A daughter who went from cleaning houses to running foundations. A daughter who proved that goodness, real goodness, is the most powerful force in the world. That was Rosa's legacy, and Elena would carry it forward for the rest of her life. 10 years after the night Elena screamed, Marcus Richardson celebrated his 82nd birthday. The party was held at the Foundation headquarters, a building that now bore Rosa's name. The Rosa Morales Center for Justice. Elena stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. Hundreds of people were there. Scholarship recipients whose lives had been changed. Community leaders who had partnered with the foundation. Politicians, business people, celebrities, ordinary people. All gathered to celebrate a man who had once been minutes from death. 10 years ago, Elena began, I was nobody. A maid from New Mexico with $47 and a dream. I had no connections, no education, no future that anyone could see. All I had was my mother's voice in my head telling me to do what's right even when it's hard. She paused, looking at Marcus in the front row. And then I met a man who gave me a chance. A man who saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. A man who taught me that wealth isn't about what you have. It's about what you give. Marcus Richardson saved my life. Elena continued. Not the other way around. Yes, I stopped him from drinking poison. But he gave me something far more valuable. He gave me hope. He gave me purpose. He gave me a reason to believe that the world can be better than it is. She held up her glass. To Marcus Richardson, 82 years young, still fighting, still giving, still teaching all of us what it means to live a life that matters. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus stood slowly, using his cane for support. He made his way to the podium and took Elena's hand. You know, he said to the crowd, people always ask me about the night I almost died. They want to know what it felt like knowing my own wife was trying to poison me. They want to know about the betrayal, the shock, the fear. He shook his head. But that's not what I remember about that night. What I remember is a young woman bursting through my door. What I remember is her voice cracking with terror, but strong with conviction. What I remember is 2 words that changed my life forever. He turned to Elena. "Don't drink it." That's what she said. "Don't drink it." And in that moment, I saw something I had almost forgotten existed. Pure courage, pure goodness, pure love for a stranger who had done nothing to deserve it. His eyes were wet. Elena Morales didn't just save my life that night. She saved my soul. She reminded me that there are still people in this world who will stand up for what's right, even when it costs them everything. She reminded me that hope is not foolish, that trust is not weakness, that one person acting with courage can change the world. He squeezed her hand. I am 82 years old. I have lived longer than I ever expected thanks to this remarkable woman. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that I have never been more grateful for anything in my entire life. The applause was deafening. Later that night, after the guests had gone, Elena and Marcus sat together on the terrace of the Rosa Morales Center. The city lights sparkled below them. The air was warm with summer. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly, "for everything." "Thank you," Elena replied, "for believing in me when no one else did." "I didn't believe in you, Elena. I recognized you. There's a difference. Some people are just born with a light inside them. All I did was give you a chance to let it shine." Elena looked out at the city. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't screamed, if I had stayed quiet?" "Sometimes, but I try not to dwell on it. The past is written. Only the future is unfinished." My mother used to say something like that. She said we can't change where we came from, only where we're going. Your mother was right. About everything, apparently. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "I miss her," Elena said finally. "Every day. I look for her in crowds. I reach for my phone to call her. I hear something funny and think Mama would love this. And then I remember." "That never goes away," Marcus said. "The missing. But it changes over time. It becomes less like a wound and more like a scar. You carry it with you, but it doesn't hurt as much. Is that true? I've been carrying people with me for decades. My parents. My first wife. Harold Foster, the man who gave me my start. They're all here inside me, part of who I am. Your mother is the same. She lives on through you, through everything you do, through everyone you help." Elena felt tears on her cheeks. "I just want to make her proud." "You do. Every single day. And she knows it. Wherever she is, she knows it." On a spring morning, 5 years later, Elena stood in the garden of the Rosa Morales Center. She was 39 years old now, director of one of the largest charitable foundations in the country, a respected voice in legal circles, a symbol of what was possible when courage met opportunity. Marcus had passed away peacefully in his sleep 2 years earlier. He was 85. He went surrounded by people who loved him, at peace with everything he had accomplished and everyone he had helped. His memorial service drew thousands. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders, ordinary people whose lives he had touched. But the eulogy was given by Elena, the maid who had become his daughter in everything but blood. Now, standing in the garden, Elena watched a group of scholarship students touring the facility. Young people from backgrounds just like hers. Immigrants, first-generation students, dreamers with nothing but hope and determination. One of them, a young woman from Guatemala, approached her nervously. "Ms. Morales, I just wanted to say thank you. For the scholarship. For everything. I never thought someone like me could go to college. But you showed me it was possible." Elena smiled and took the young woman's hand. "What's your name?" "Maria." "Maria, let me tell you something. 15 years ago, I was exactly where you are. Poor, scared, wondering if I would ever be anything more than invisible. And then someone gave me a chance. Someone believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself." She squeezed Maria's hand. "Now it's my turn to believe in you. Not because you earned it or deserve it, but because that's how the world gets better. One person helps another, who helps another, who helps another, until the chain stretches so far that no one can remember where it started." Maria's eyes were wet. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't. And someday, when you're successful and established, and the world has opened up for you, I want you to find someone else, someone poor and scared and invisible, and I want you to give them a chance, just like I'm giving you. I will, I promise." "Good. Now go. Study hard, work harder, and never ever forget where you came from." Maria nodded and rejoined her group, wiping her eyes. Elena watched her go, feeling something warm spreading through her chest. This was why she did it. Not for the recognition or the money or the prestige, but for moments like this. For the chance to see hope kindle in someone's eyes. For the chance to pass along the gift that Marcus had given her, that her mother had given her, that every good person who ever took a chance on someone gave to those who came after. Elena walked back through the garden, past the statue of her mother that stood at the entrance, past the plaque, with Marcus's name, past all the symbols of everything they had built together. She paused at the doorway and looked back. The sun was rising over the city. The students were laughing, talking about their futures. The world was spinning forward, carrying all of them toward whatever came next. Elena smiled. She had started with nothing. A poor maid from nowhere, with $47 and a mother who believed in her. And now she had everything that mattered. Not money, not fame, not power. Purpose. The knowledge that her life meant something. That the choices she made rippled outward, touching people she would never meet, changing futures she would never see. That was the real legacy. Not buildings or foundations or bank accounts, just 2 words spoken at the right moment by someone brave enough to speak them. Don't drink it. 2 words that saved a life. 2 words that changed a destiny. 2 words that proved once and for all that courage is not about being unafraid. It's about being terrified and speaking anyway. Elena Morales had been terrified that night in the mansion, but she spoke, and the whole world changed.